Well, good morning, everyone. We'll make a start to today's press conference. Thank you for joining us and welcome to the Founding Partners press conference of the 2019 Asia Pacific Amateur Championship. I'd like to start this morning by introducing our panel. To my immediate left is Mr. Fred Ridley, Chairman of the Masters Tournament. In the centre is Mr. Kei Muratsu, Chairman of the Asia Pacific Golf Confederation. And on the far left is Mr. Martin Slumbers, the Chief Executive of the RNA. We have an announcement to make this morning, so I'll ask Mr. Muratsu to proceed.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, Mike. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the 2019 Asia Pacific Amateur Championship. We are grateful for your presence today, as the coverage you provide plays an integral and very important role in the success of this championship. To our friends from the Masters Tournament and the RNA, we thank you for your continued support and dedication to this event. Your hard work has contributed greatly to the growth and development of this championship. And for that, we are very appreciative. As we gather for the 11th edition of the AAC, it is important to remind ourselves why we are here. It is with great excitement that we welcome the region's top amateur players to compete for the title of the Asia Pacific Amateur Champion and its life-altering rewards. The field will be challenged on this world-class course at Sheshan International Golf Club, and I believe I speak for the group when I say we cannot wait to watch. But just as significant as the play on the course is the legacy that this championship and these players leave for the next generation of golfers. The collective goal of the founding partner is to help develop the game and inspire the greater participation throughout the region. As we come together for the start of the play today, we are confident that the future of the sport has never been stronger in the Asia Pacific. We would also like to recognize our tremendous host, Sheshan International Golf Club, and this beautiful test of golf. The gracious hospitality shown by the members, staff, and everyone at the Sheshan International is in a class of its own. Thanks to their hard work, as well as that of the China Golf Association, we are underway this morning and excited to see what transpires in the days that follow. Come Sunday afternoon, we will recognize the deserving champion whose life will be forever changed. Finally, it is with a great enthusiasm that we announce our return to Australia's Royal Melbourne Golf Club for the 2020 Asia Pacific Amateur Championship. Royal Melbourne was an exceptional host for this event in 2014, and we're confident that Tony Rowe, who is here, Tony, is with us today, and his team will find a way to raise the bar again next year. I would like to thank you all again for being here at this time. We'll be happy to take some questions. Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Muratsu. We'll take the first question from Justin.
Mr. Ridley, what are your thoughts on the level of talent in the field this week, which seems to get better every year, and what that says about the way the game's developing in Asia?
Well, it certainly is. I totally agree with that. If you think back, and for those of you who were here in 2009, the stated goal of this championship was to provide a world-class competitive experience on some of the greatest venues in this part of the world. And we think that that certainly occurred. And by doing so, the young men who were coming here from all over the region would go back home as role models for youngsters in their parts of the world, and hopefully stimulate interest. Now, a lot of the feedback, it certainly is anecdotal, but we have some, I think, some really good data points that supports what this championship has done. In 2009, we had 29 participating countries and territories, and that has increased over the course of the past 10 years to 42. I think if you look at the strength of the field, that's another compelling indicator. We had 0 players in the top 20 of the World Amateur Golf Rankings when this championship started. This week, I'm happy to report that we have 5 players in the top 20 and 3 in the top 10. And also, our defending champion, Takumi Kanaya, is now, as of I think yesterday, was elevated to the #1 ranking in the World Amateur Golf Ranking. So when you look at that, and then you look at some of the accomplishments of what I call the AAC alumni, Hideki Matsuyama, C.T. Pan, Cameron Smith. These are players who will be playing on the President's Cup this year, and that was unimaginable 10 years ago. So I think all in all that we've seen a lot of good that's come out of this championship, and we just look forward with a lot of enthusiasm to the next decade.
Next question, Joy at the front, please.
Mr. Slumbers, can I ask you, this association, the founding partners getting together, 11 years now, and as Mr. Ridley pointed out, all the achievements, are you, as R&A who are responsible for growing the game in this region, happy with what you guys have achieved in this last 11 years? And can you talk about this association, how it is taking it forward?
Sure. I mean, I find it incredibly heartening what Fred was just talking about there, the quality of the players and the depth of the players, and the fact that 3 are going to be in the President's Cup side, I think is extraordinary. And I think everyone who's been involved for years should feel and does feel deeply proud that we started something special. I think the relationship is, the APGC are here. They sit at the center of what's going on in Asia Pacific. They run their championships, work with all the federations. And when I came in 4 years ago, Fred's predecessor Billy had this phrase about creating heroes, and I didn't really get it at first. But I have got it over the years. And, I think that what the Masters tournament and the R&A bring to the table is not just the opportunity to play in the Masters and now the opportunity to play in the Open, but we bring our experience of running 2 of the finest golf championships in the world. And that, together with the APGC's connection with golf, created something of an opportunity that players could never have dreamt about having before this championship started. And I have always said that for me, it's as important who wins as who plays in the bottom half of the field and how well they play. And whilst I will be extremely pleased to see the better players go on and play, actually, I'm as excited about the bottom end of the field getting better and better and better. And this region will undoubtedly, is today and will become an ever greater force in the game, whether it's the men's game or the women's game. And that is exciting.
Okay, next question, please. Jason, I think in the middle.
Mr. Ridley, I was just wondering, we'll take you back a few months, back to the Masters tournament where you watched Tiger Woods win his 15th major. I was just wondering, were there any moments from that day that stick out in your mind, and anything that you'll remember going forward?
Well, there were a lot of moments. That was really one of the most just remarkable days in the history of the Masters tournament. I think in my lifetime, the 2 Masters that I will always remember was Jack Nicklaus's win in 1986 and Tiger's fifth win in 2019. I think it was. I'm a believer in destiny, and I think that it was destined to be Tiger's day. I mean, everything sort of fell his way. And it was a different kind of win for him. It was a win where he didn't dominate the field, but he really played a strategic round and put himself in a position to win. I think the other thing that was really remarkable about what Tiger did, and it was really how it affected him. We've all watched him win many tournaments, his 15th major, and the impact that it had on him was really noticeable. I don't think I've ever seen him so taken by a win. I mean, I think perhaps in years past it might have been something he expected. I think this was something that probably he didn't expect, honestly, and just the way that the grace in which he accepted and that win and the appreciation he showed for the ability to compete. I mean, he was remarking at one of the post-tournament interviews that that he really didn't know if he was going to be able to play again. And just to be able to get out on the golf course and compete was something very special, and then to win. And I think the other thing that was really striking to me was the way that his fellow competitors reacted to him winning. I mean, we all were watching as he came across off the 18th green and went into the press, or rather the scoring area. And there were a line of players, young players who weren't even competing on the PGA Tour when he won his first Masters. So I thought that was really special. And for us at Augusta National, really it was a culmination of really a spectacular 10 days where we had started that period hosting the first annual Augusta National Women's Amateur, and that was such an exciting finish, and then to have Tiger win just topped it off. So it was very special.
Okay, next question, front left, please.
Sabrina from TBS Japan. I would like to ask Mr. Muratsu. Takumi Kanaya moved to number 1 this week in the world.
He came back again, and he wasn't.
Yes, he
Probably I haven't checked because it's the fluctuating,
I see. And another question is, how important do you think this event and Muratsu's success has been to the achievement?
Which Muratsu? Who?
He taking Muratsu's success.
Matsuyama.
Okay. I'm sorry. Success has been to this achievement.
Takumi is a hero already. We never had. I'm sorry. The talking in Japan was happening. Is the amateur player never attracts that attention in the golfing world, but Takumi's winning the ASC last year is made a cut in Augusta, and then also his behavior, the way he shows himself, and quite in detail reported in media, and so probably that's a kind of good exemplified player for the young or junior players to follow. And as you know, Matsuyama and Kanaya went to the same school, and Matsuyama really takes care of Kanaya. So Matsuyama wants Kanaya to grow farther. So if he wins similar to what Matsuyama has done in to enroll and goes to the Masters again, it's going to be a big thing for as far as Japan and amateur golfer is concerned.
Okay, next question from behind you there.
Teng from Bangkok for Mr. Muratsu. The APCG has grown from 29 to 42 countries and territories during the 11 years of the AAC. Is it a coincidence, or are they directly related?
I would say both. And the right thing happened at the right time. And we have been talking, we have had this team event for years, 50 years. That's primarily the only one championship we host. But we were thinking that how we could have individual game throughout the region. But it's not easy because all the connection, the relationship among our member associations are not that in depth. But we were very fortunate. Masters tournament came to us, whether such a championship be held in Asia. And we had a little bit of struggle, a difficult situation in the first couple of championship. But I attended, including this one, I attended 10 out of 11. But I'm so delighted to see the setup and preparations. Everything is exceptional. And I really want our players quality is matching with this preparation, and I think they will do it. And the other things, I heard the last several years, every player who played here came back in their own home country. They tell the other amateur, particularly junior people, there are this kind of tournament, you should aim it. So that really grow the interest in this championship as well as their interest in our confederation. It really helped.
Okay, next question, Amanda at the back there, please.
We talked briefly about, the players maybe at the bottom of the leaderboard. And, I think a lot of us are so used to covering the top players in the world. And now it's going to be this weekend, the top players in this field. But I was just wondering if you could, Chairman Ridley, speak to the importance of growing the game with players that this is probably their peak. This is going to be the best moment of their lives coming from countries where there's one 18-hole golf course. And just the importance of not necessarily growing the game at the top, which is obviously important, but growing the game to grow interest in, any way, making it more accessible maybe for everybody.
Well, I think the question, Amanda, really recognizes the dual purpose of this championship, and one certainly is to conduct an elite championship for the best players in the region, but the other is really to create an experience for all of the competitors, including those at the bottom of the leaderboard, that they would never have anywhere else. And to come to a venue, and in this case, a venue for one of the World Golf Championships, just an experience that they would never have, to see how a real championship is run with the scoreboards and the volunteers and the sponsors. So we hope that experience will make an indelible impression on all of these young men, and that they will go back home with sort of a renewed interest and love for the game of golf that hopefully will translate to others back in their home countries. So I would agree that that's an equally important part of the mission of this championship.
Can I just add to that, because when you look at media coverage, it's always about the professional game. One of the most famous professionals said that this is the greatest game mankind ever invented, and I think many of us here would share that. But 99% of people who play golf play for love. Only 1% play for money. And the 99% is why this is the greatest game that mankind ever invented. And I completely agree with Fred. This is the top of the pinnacle for amateur golf. But it really matters that there is this hierarchy, and it really matters that there's 99% of people who play for love, because that is absolutely why people play this game.
And Martin, if I could add one other thing to that, it made me think of the gala event that we have and we'll have on Saturday night. And over the course of the years, and I'm sure you've done the same thing, of spending time with some of the young men from, let's just say, the lesser developed countries in the game, and to see the way that they've reacted and just the sheer joy that you see on their faces for being here. I mean, I think that really validates all of this.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Okay, next question, Swami at the front.
Chairman, we all recognize there are many champions here, but at the end of the week, only one of them is going to win. What is the kind of an experience that you want the other 119 people to take back home so that we can actually grow the game in their respective countries? And how are these courses, these experiences going to help the game in a larger sense?
Well, I think part of it we've already talked about. It's really the experience of being exposed to golf at a level and conducted in a way that they otherwise would never be able to experience. It's the experience of meeting their fellow competitors. I sort of liken it to the Olympic experience. When I played, I had the fortune to play on a world amateur golf team for the United States back in the mid-'70s, and that was a real eye-opener for me to be able to compete and become friends with young golfers from around the world. I never expected to have that experience. So I just think it's the spirit of the game that Martin was referring to, the spirit of competition, fair play, friendships hopefully that'll last for many, many years, that you really can't quantify. I mean, it's that intangible aspect of this event, I think, that's really important, and hopefully will create enthusiasm and interest that'll carry back to the home countries. And again, it's hard to measure all of this, but we're trying to do our part, and certainly the Masters tournament is very fortunate to be partners with the RNA and the APGC in this effort.
Next question, gentleman in the blue there, the back. Yes.
Mr. Slumbers, why is bringing this event to China is important to grow the game?
Yes, I mean, if you look at, I was reflecting on the importance of China for golf and this championship. But, whatever walk of life, mainland China is always talked about as the big opportunity in the world. And it's no different in golf. But I was thinking about, it's only 2 years ago that, Hai Tong Lee came within a whisker of winning the Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. He's now one of the finest players in the world. You see the success of some of the Chinese players in this event. If you go back to, it wasn't until 2012 when a Chinese player, Guan Tinlang, came through and won. Up to then, the Chinese players hadn't figured. At Royal Wellington, 4 of the top 5 were from China. Last year, 3 of the top 10 were from China. I think we could all have a good idea what that's going to be this week. China, along with the more established countries in Asia of Korea and Japan and Australia and New Zealand, is going to be an absolute force in this game. And this championship being staged here, being able for them to play, I think is a very important part of this. And the rest of the world has really realized how good Asia Pacific is on the men's side and the women's side, and that's only going to get tougher. For mainland China, I would absolutely commend the leadership of the CGA, who have done a fantastic job to date, and I have absolute confidence that they will do an incredible job going forward. And golf will be the better for it, and it will be very exciting to see more of the mainland Chinese players coming through and challenging on the world stage.
Okay, Joy at the front.
I've got 2 questions actually. The first one is to Mr. Ridley, and Mr. Muratsu can also maybe pitch in. So you have got a very successful thing going at the Masters, during the Masters, which is the drive, chip and putt for juniors. Is there any plans? We have tournament like the Asia Pacific Amateur Championship for men's amateur. We have Mr. Slumbers and his organization with Mr. Muratsu doing the women's Amateur Asia Pacific. Do you have any plans maybe to replicate kind of a DCP model around Asia and do something for the juniors who really want to be at the Masters and just take a couple of the winners to the DCP?
Well, the drive, chip, and putt, as you're referring to, has really been a great success, and we are now having qualifiers in all 50 states in the United States, and many young boys and girls who try to qualify. I think the notion of expanding that internationally is something that we should think about. We don't have any present plans to do that, but I certainly think it's a topic worth exploring. And the Masters tournament, dating back to our founding, has been committed to promoting and growing the game of golf. And so we try to think that there are not really any boundaries to that. But that would be a very large undertaking, and it's something we'd have to consider seriously. But I think with the success of the dry chip and putt is something that might be a possibility in the future, although we're not looking at it right now.
And the second question that I wanted to ask is to you and Mr. Slumbers as well, is that you both have spoken about the lower half of the leaderboard and what the experience will be for them. You've actually put in your money where your mouth is. You have done something called the AAC Academy, and I was speaking to one of the players from Cambodia who has played all 11 tournaments, and it was a very interesting conversation of him saying that in 2009, when he came for the tournament, if he gave himself 0 marks, after attending the AAC Academy in Singapore this June, he thinks that he will give himself a 7 now, and he will do well in this tournament. Can you just talk about that aspect of your part of this tournament? You know, I mean, just not a big tournament, but doing things like that.
Martin, you want to speak to that?
Yeah. You know, we've talked for probably 3 years about how do we take this championship and give something more. And I'm really pleased you picked up on our comments about the bottom half of the leaderboard. And one of the things that we decided to do was to create an academy. We did it for the first time this year. And if you look at the big countries, they have a machine for developing great players. But for some of the smaller countries, they don't have that opportunity. So we looked at, can we do something? So we took 6 countries, 11 players. We took them to Sentosa Golf Club for a week. And Sentosa were, you know, wonderful hosts and offered the opportunities to use their facilities. We brought some of the best coaches, nutritionists, sports scientists from around the region, and we exposed these 11 players to all of that coaching. And our total intention was, can we help them move up and give them the skills to be able to fulfill their own destiny and their own skill level. 2 of the players have already gone up 1,000 places in WAGA. I hear a couple of them are scoring quite well out there at the moment. And that is that's the first year. And we'll see how that develops. But if we can make that work, what a fantastic additional legacy this championship can deliver to Asia Pacific. That will bring other countries up, and Japan will have to watch out because they'll be coming.
Okay, we'll take our final question from Swami, I think.
It's going to be Mr. Slumbers, Chairman Ridley, or Mr. Muratsu. We've spoken about some of the big countries which have hosted the Asia Pacific Amateur Championships, and it's done a world of good for them. Japan, China, Korea, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia. I'm from India. Is there any chance of the championships coming to India, and what would India need to do to have a championships like this? Because if the game goes into the interiors in India, there's absolutely a phenomenal amount of youngsters who could actually be playing this game and completely taking it to a new level.
Should I start? I mean, we are committed to taking this championship around the region, and we have done that. But we can also be a little bit of a victim of our own success. You know, the quality of the staging, the quality of the golf course, the quality of the facilities that is now needed to stage this has gone up and up and up and up. And so it becomes, I think what all of us don't want is that it ends up being only a small number of courses and countries that can stage it, because it is important to take it around the region. But we do need to make sure that we keep that experience right at the very top of the level. I would love to see this in India. And I'd love to see it in some other countries as well in the region. And I'm sure in the years to come, the countries will embrace it and help us take it further around the region.
Yeah, Martin, if I could follow up on that, not directly with respect to your question, but just as it relates to what we're doing here and the fact that this partnership that's been created really has been the key to whatever success that we've had. And that also relates to your question about the drive, chip, and putt and whether it might go international. I think what we've learned from the Asia Pacific is that we can do a lot more working together. So whether it's this, whether it's expanding the drive, chip, and putt perhaps someday internationally, that requires many people. And so we would continue to look to other organizations to collaborate with us, whatever we might do around the world, because that's really, I think, the secret sauce in all of this.
Agreed. Okay, with that, we'll draw things to a close. Thank you, Mr. Ridley, Mr. Muratsu, and Mr. Slumbers, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.